Hello again, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Watch Party Wednesday. I'm Lee Gordon coming to you live from Chicago, home of Brunswick, where we are thrilled once again to welcome our incredible Freedom Boat Club owners and members from all over the world. And tonight we are pleased to present one of our very special members, Leanne Augustine, who's leading the charge in our Freedom at the Helm movement with her fellow Sea Sisters from Freedom Boat Club in Delaware. Leanne, thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you, Lee. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too, and look forward to meeting you in person when we're able to get on the other side of COVID and we can all go boating together one of these days. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're looking forward to doing that. And when, we always start these with a little bit of an icebreaker, and you love boating, I love boating, we all love boating. And as you know, Freedom Social Club has a whole new Taste of Freedom playlist on Spotify. I've got them all downloaded every time we go out. But when you go out on the water, what's the first song? I mean, you're backing up the boat, you're going out. What kind of music are you listening to?
I'm going old school. Christopher Cross, Sailing.
Wow.
Going Sailing. Old school. Sailing takes me away to where that one just, I'm a child of the 70s, late 70s. So it's like, oh man, as soon as I heard that, and there's a picture that I sent Angela. So it's like I can just feel that song coming across. Yeah.
The problem is that's one of those songs that now that you've got it in my head for the rest of the night, I'm going to be singing that song now.
Yes. Yeah. But it's one of those, oldies but goodies, and it's just like it takes you back and you can even remember when the first time you heard it.
It's true. It's true. No, that is a really good one. And, in addition to music, I know that you're one of the founding members of the Freedom Boat Club Delaware. Can you tell us what first attracted you to Freedom Boat Club and your first meeting and your amazing Rosellas?
Well, they are amazing. And what happened was my husband announced that he was going to retire. And so that means we were going to pack up from Pennsylvania and move down to Delaware. And we'd always been coming down for vacation, and I always wanted to live in Lewis. So he retired, so I'm trying to negotiate. So the first thing I could think of was, I want a boat. You kind of put the big ask out there. And so that was my okay, if you're going to do this, then I want this. So I had went on the internet, and I was looking for boat rentals, clubs and everything. And I do remember looking at the Freedom Boat Club website. But yet I don't, I saw it, I knew it was there. But my husband and I decided to go to the Ocean City Boat Show, and it was cold, and it was one of these things that was just, we had nothing else to do, so we went. We're almost finished looking at all the boats. We're upstairs. We're getting ready to leave, and I hear Bev Rosella's voice explaining to another person standing there about the Freedom Boat Club. And I'm like, wait a minute. I saw that on the internet. So we're standing there talking. Here, Bev and Tom retired from Merck, the pharmaceutical company. Mm-hmm. So did my husband.
Really?
So, yeah.
So you were meant, just about the same time.
And, it was one of these things that we're sitting there and the three of them are talking. This is really interesting. We wrote a check that day. They had no boats. I'm not kidding. We wrote a check. And I think we were members number 5 and 6. But yeah, that's how much. And it was just like, did you ever meet somebody that you knew? It was the Rosellas. Yeah.
So when we say founding members, you're truly a founding member. I mean, you're before the boats even showed up.
And I'm telling you, it's great. Great.
Talk a little bit more about that and your relationship with Bev. And I know you're with Freedom at the Helm. You're very passionate about getting women on the water and the Sea Sisters group. And just talk about why that means so much to you and some of the things you've done to encourage more women to get out on the water.
Well, Bev is she's just a fun person. She really loves to go out on the water. And so it was one of these things that I noticed, the first couple times I would go out, I mean, this is coming from a non-boating background, I mean, at all. I mean, I swam competitively through high school and college, so that's how I knew I loved the water. Um, but it was one of these things that I always had this like nagging fear inside, and I've decided that's not how I'm living my life. Mm-hmm. So I just get out there, and when Bev rolled out this whole, it used to be called the Divas program, we would go out, and I never had so much fun as to you when you get out there and you're with other women who like to do the same thing. And then I was talking to Bev, and I said, you know what? I said, I want to get out in the water more. And she's like, well, what do you have in mind? I'm thinking, well, you know what? I want to go out. I know that there's other people wanting to go out. Let me put an email together and see who else I can get out and go out. So there's another woman named Kathy in our group, and she's an advanced. She's certified to go out in the ocean. So I kind of started talking to her. She's like, hey, you want to go out? I'll go out. And so this is how it all started. It was one of these things. The reason this whole thing started is because I wanted to go out, and I wanted other people to go out with me. And it's amazing because after one of the early trips, we're coming back and the sun's setting in the west, and there's like 5 of us women, and we have now safely navigated the infamous Massey's Ditch in between the Rehoboth Bay and the Indian River Bay. So we're feeling kind of confident, and we're coming back and the sun's setting and it's gorgeous. And we all admitted at this point that we would much rather go out with other women than our husbands. So that's how the Sea Sisters came to be. So yeah, and I figured, what happens is we're all dealing with a little bit of fear. But if you can get out in the water and you can, perform a skill and everybody's encouraging you, it's amazing that sense of accomplishment and the camaraderie that you get, and all you want to do is go out more and more and more with the same women, or just get more women to feel what you have. So this is how this started.
No, that's great. That's great. And again, I mean, you can feel the passion coming from you. And I'm told you live in between 3 different Freedom Boat Club locations, so you get to pick from any which way you want, and it's kind of an extension of your home life. And I mean, you've touched on this a little bit, but, from going from someone who didn't necessarily grow up boating to now you're the spokesperson for Freedom Boat Club. Let's be honest here. I mean, you're as good of a member spokesperson as possible. I mean, what does it mean to you just as an extension of your daily life?
Well, you're down here, and this area in Lewis, Delaware is just absolutely gorgeous. And we're surrounded by water. So what Freedom Boat Club gives me ability to take advantage of the environment that we're in, and not only from kind of a leisure aspect. There's wonderful ecological organizations here, like the Murr Institute that helps with stranded wildlife and mammals that you find. You can get involved with that. We did a dolphin count for them earlier in the spring. And there's also the inland bays. Since we're out there enjoying and we're spending time on the bays, it's one of these things we want to give back and make sure that the younger people and the generations to come have the same enjoyment that we have. And what's really wonderful is that I'm kind of like equidistant between our Potnet locations on the Indian River Bay, the transient dock at the Cape May and the Cape May Lewis Ferry Terminal, and then we also have a marina. We have boat slips at a marina at what's called the Pilot Town Dock. Now that's like right outside the historic town of Lewis. So it's one of these things that's one thing that I really wanted to make sure with the Sea Sisters is that no matter what boat slips you go out of, whatever marina, that you've got experience on all 3.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that's great. And you talk about Freedom Boat Club and it being the number one social club for boaters, and you've talked about some fantastic experiences, and I know we're all able to boat, and it's the great social distancing right now. But when we get
It
on the
is.
other side of COVID, I know there's a lot of social activities that Freedom provides. What are some of those that you're really looking forward to when we can all get together again?
Well, the biggest thing is having people come out and speak to us in person. Because of the pandemic, we've had to do virtual um, presentations with, as I mentioned before, we had the executive director for the MUR Institute. We had a communications coordinator for the Center of the Inland Bays. We've also had one of the regional representatives for Garmin come out. There's Garmin on all the boats, but everybody looks at the Garmin and okay, it's a nice accessory, but you know how valuable it is. So we had a virtual presentation from the gal at Garmin, and then we also did Navionics, virtual, because what happens is the great thing about Garmin is if you owned your own boat, and you owned the equipment that was on your own boat, you can store trip information on that. But because we all share the boat, it was great. It was kind of like just a no-brainer to get on with the software from Navionics because Garmin owns it. And what's nice about it is you have a cell phone or you have an iPad, you can store everything on your own, and it doesn't penalize you for being in a boat club. This is kind of the answer. Everybody that's a member of a boat club should have a Navionics app on their phone or tablet.
Freedom Boat Club has 240 locations now around the world. Reciprocity, you can go to any location that you want. But Leanne, what are some of the best times that you have in Delaware? I've been a lot of places. Unfortunately, I have not been to Delaware, but the way you make it sound, it's got to be next on my list here.
Yeah, you got to come. It's beautiful here. Points that I really find amazing is, of course, our state parks down here in Delaware are second to none. What I really love, especially Cape Henlopen State Park, it's the farthest west in the state. And there's history there because what happens is there are a series of towers that were built during the Second World War it was a safety for our eastern shore. And what the Army would do would be triangulate the points to realize where the German boats were. Now, they never used the towers, and no ammunitions were ever shot from the towers, but it's there. You can climb up in them. And it's amazing the science that the Army had to put into place to calculate and triangulate. And what's really neat is the state park's open. You can go, you can talk to the people, you can see some of the equipment, you can see where the bombs were created and how they were going to be taken out to be deployed. And there's also beauty around there, like Gordon's Pond, where there's a walkway. I think it's about close to 2 miles, and you walk over the marsh. There's biking trails down here. The restaurants are fabulous. So there's a little bit of history here too. There was the Cannonball House for the War of 1812. So, and there's actually the cannonball sitting in the foundation of the house, But it's beautiful here. And
that is on my list. Every time we do one of these, Seattle, I got to go to Portland, Maine. We're coming to Delaware. We're next year. We're doing this on the road.
I'm keeping this. I'm keeping you to that because the great thing about Delaware, there's no sales tax.
Oh, I love that. I lived in Montana for a couple of years. I had that same thing. It was great. You save a lot of money that way.
You do.
So, Leanne, you obviously have a passion for Freedom Boat Club. There's no question about it. It comes out in everything you say. But I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you could sum it all up in just one word, what would it be?
I would have to say relationships. Because what is really amazing is, and I know I have a niece, well, actually a goddaughter and a godson, and they're now away at college. And what's really nice about it is you can buy them a shirt, you can buy them a gift, but nothing is more valuable than taking either Douglas or Catherine out on the water and spending time with them. They're going to remember this for the rest of their lives. And it's something that we can continue to do. So that's what it's one of these things that, and the same thing with friends, you don't get this time back.
Mm-hmm. No, that's why we all love boating. And It's now time to show people. Without further ado, let's meet Leanne's amazing Sea Sisters group leading the charge at our Freedom at the Helm movement at the heart of Freedom Boat Club Delaware.
All right, everybody. Say big Sea Sisters! Sea Sisters!
Thanks again for joining us this evening, and remember to tune in every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern for our Freedom Social Watch Party Wednesdays.